Alright, everybody stand on your lines. The gates are closing. Everyone in the truck, watch your hands. The feet, the doors are closing.
Animals out this way. Let's switch seats because Jameson, you guys will be able to stay on the end.
Asante San awarded. Here, Harambe, we say with day. Let's go. Good job, everybody. How y'all doing this morning? Awesome. Glad to hear it. Well, welcome to Kilimanjaro Safari. My name is Olivia. I will be your guide as we travel through the reserve today. The road on the reserve does tend to get pretty rough and bumpy, so I do ask that everybody remain fully and completely seated for the entire duration of our journey. There you go. It may be tempting to stand up, but even if we are fully stopped to look at an animal, do remain seated. That is for your safety. We're starting off our adventure here in the Aturi Forest. Already having some pretty good luck, my friends. I already see two different types of animals. Crossing the road in front of us is a lovely greater kudu. To the right, there is an okapi. Very beautiful animal.
An okapi?
Now, the okapi kind of looks like it's wearing zebra pants, but don't let that fool you. They're not related to zebras whatsoever. They are, in fact, the only living relatives of the giraffe. Which is kind of weird. Doesn't look like a giraffe, but they do share some similarities. They have ossicones on their heads and tongues so long they can lick their own eyeballs. How fun is that? Definitely helps them as they are snacking their way through the forest. There's some kudu. How lovely are they? So only the boy kudu have horns. So it seems looks like we're seeing a couple of ladies here. Their coloration helps them to blend in with the environment around them. And they also have stripes on their back. So they have stripes, the okapi have stripes. I think I saw a bongo over here. They've got stripes too. That type of pattern is so common in a forest like this because it helps to break up the animal's silhouette. That makes it more difficult for predators to spot them in the tree line. Very sneaky. That's called disruptive camouflage. On the left, I see a rhinoceros munching and crunching away on some breakfast way at the top of the hill. Believe it or not, this is the smaller of the two rhino species we've seen on the reserve. How crazy is that? That's the small one. They're still pretty big. They weigh between 2,000 and 3,000 pounds. They like to live in heavily forested environments like this one because they eat a lot of leaf. It is pointy and prehensile. That just means their upper lip can grab on just by itself. Here's some bongos. Oh, I love bongos. They're so pretty. So they got stripes on their back too. They have disruptive camouflage. And they're a little different from the greater kudu because both the boy and the girl bongos have horns. They're pretty heavy and they're angled backwards so they can crash through all of these thick bushes, knocking out the low-hanging branches. So that one got an itch. Oh, they are so cool. They're really shy animals. They're known as the ghosts of the forest because they can be really difficult to find. So seeing a whole bunch of them out in the open like that is pretty awesome way to start our adventure today. We'll see if our luck keeps going. We're going to go a little farther north. We're going to go toward the Sumping River. The last couple of evenings, I have been seeing a ton of hippopotamus activity out here. That makes sense because hippos are, surprisingly, nocturnal. They're most active in the middle of the night. During the day, usually like to hang out in these waters, just snoozing. I do see a couple over there on the right, but they're really tricky to see. So we'll move a little farther down the river, see if we can find a couple more in the open. It's a great egret on the right, a little white bird. There's some hippos on the left. Look at all of them. Now these animals breathe air just like humans, but they can sleep fully submerged in the water because they can hold their breath for 8 minutes at a time. And even when they're sleeping, they'll pop up to the surface and breathe without waking up. It is really cool. It's like a reflex. Oh, there's one. Well, that's over here too. We're seeing pink-backed pelicans. They are preening their feathers, keeping themselves clean. Black vultures. The black vultures and oxpeckers have this really interesting relationship with hippos. They actually eat the old skin and the insects off of them, which keeps the hippopotamus clean and gives that bird a delicious snack. They have a really cool symbiotic relationship. They're both helping each other out. But not every bird relies on hippopotamus for food. A lot of them get their food out of the water. And it is pretty tricky for a bird to tell the difference between a super shiny fish and something like a shiny candy bar wrapper. That's not super healthy for them to be eating. So it's really important that we make sure that all of our waste will be ending up where it needs to go, getting into our trash cans or recycling it. Even doing something like a neighborhood cleanup can help prevent a lot of that waste from ending up in our waterways. So all of our bird friends have a happy, healthy environment to live in. Into a really different ecosystem next. We're headed toward the savannah. Most animals that we will be searching for are migratory, constantly on the move, looking for fresh water, good food, and following rain patterns to find it. You never really know who you'll encounter, but I will say the savannah is our best bet for seeing some of Africa's most iconic wildlife. Over here in the overlook, we are going to get a really cool perspective of all of this ecosystem as a whole. You can actually start to see a whole lot of clues that animals live in this area. We see termite mounds, and we'll also see that most of the trees out here are the same shape. It's because they have all been pruned back to giraffe height. And now we tell when they've been in the area. We're actually going to see that pruning in action. A couple giraffes on the right. Oh, there's a lot of them moving around out there.
Closer, guys.
We're going to get a little bit closer to those giraffes in a moment. It looks like most of them are eaten away. One of my favorite things about giraffes is that a group of them is called a tower. I think it's kind of funny. In this particular tower of giraffes, there have been 5 babies born in the last year. So think of a baby giraffe palooza. We'll see how many of those little ones we can find. I definitely see one out there. Oh, on the left. Those are called African wild dogs. These are commonly mistaken for hyenas, but they are a different species. And even though they have the word dog in their name, I can promise you these are different from any pets you have at home. They are the most successful predators in Africa. They catch 85% of the prey that they chase, and that success rate is higher than all of the big cats combined. They are absolutely amazing. So let's get a closer view of these giraffes. There's a few of them. There's 2 babies on our left. Oh, look at that one on the right, that really big one that's a little darker brown. That's a male, that's dad right there. There's the daddy giraffe. Look at these babies. Oh, look at that baby running on the left. Here she goes. All of these babies were born around the same time, about a year ago, give or take just a couple of months. 4 of them are girls, and 1 of them is a little boy. Yeah, that one is the little boy standing over there by the tree. He's so cute. Now, a lot of people don't realize there are actually 4 different types of giraffe. The one that lives in this area is called the Maasai giraffe. As the giraffes work so hard every day to eat and prune back these trees, more sunlight will come in. The underbrush will grow in a lot thicker, and that helps provide for the other animals that live in the Serengeti. Things like the Ankoli cattle that we're seeing grazing to the right side of the truck. Look at the size of their horns. They are incredible. there is a sable antelope on this hillside. She's eating as well. There's a couple of them. You can see their beautiful horns poking out. They're curved backwards to prevent any sneak attacks from behind. And they primarily will use those horns for protection, defense, offense. Now the Angoli cattle on the right, they actually don't use their horns so much for protection as they do as air conditioning. There are so many blood vessels in their horns that it helps cool their body out because their heat disperses from the surface. It's really interesting. That also means that their horns are mostly hollow and surprisingly lightweight based on their size. Lots of white-bearded wildebeest. Behind the wildebeest there are some tiny little springbok. That's visible there. They're super cute.
See the
A
wildebeest?
springbok is a perfect name for them because if they really wanted to, they could come up here and jump all the way through our truck to the other side and exit the leaves, but not be difficult for them to fall. They are very springy little animals indeed. Hasn't happened yet, but I never know. Keep moving a little farther north. There are a couple water animals up ahead I would like to visit today. See who is around. Everybody does need to get a drink at some point or another. I think I see some elephants at this one. So there's going to be elephants on the right side of our truck and a monkey on the left side. It's sitting on the rocks right in the middle of that group of trees. It's called a mandrill. It's actually blending in pretty well. It's facing away from us at the moment. Oh, there's another one walking around by the bushes. So they have some little tiny tails, but they are tails nonetheless. That's why these are monkeys. Things like gorillas, orangutans, those are actually not monkeys at all because they don't have tails. They're called apes, but that's the biggest difference. Monkeys have tails, apes do not. So that was always a fun piece of trivia to bring home with you. A couple beautiful elephants on the right. This is a mama right here, and her daughter is a little bit farther back to the right. Cool are they? You can see she's using her trunk to scoop up that food. And she actually kind of shake it out for a little bit before she puts it in her mouth. They are pretty meticulous about what they eat. By the end of the day, each one of those elephants will have consumed about 400 pounds of food. They eat a lot. And this has become a pretty big source of frustration for the people that live near them. And imagine you were a farmer and elephants keep eating your crop fields. Probably not going to be too happy with those elephants. A lot of that conflict is what causes elephant poaching to occur. I think we can all agree that it's not so good. But we have come up with this really interesting solution right here on the reserve. As we've been monitoring elephant behaviors, their migration patterns, we've noticed that they really do not like honeybees at all. If they find a hive of honeybees, they will do whatever it takes to find a different route around it. Since we've noticed this, we have been using our resources from the Disney Conservation Fund to teach those farmers how to maintain beehives. They put them around their crop fields and it keeps the elephants out in the first place. Yeah, pretty clever solution. The bees get a home, they pollinate the crops, the farmers are going to have honey to sell for additional profit. We look on that. Okay, so this is really interesting. This is a bachelor herd. These are 3 males. Now, males typically live by themselves, but they occasionally will come together like this to brush up on their social skills. Now, this younger male is being real testy with this big guy. That's kind of incredible. Usually you would see males like this one and the other smaller one kind of competing for dominance, but I don't know, that younger one's feeling a little bit lucky today, it seems like. That is so cool. So that is a sparring behavior. They're just trying to figure out who's in charge. I would think it'd be that big guy. He weighs around 13,000 pounds, but yeah, that little one was testing his luck. That one's awesome. Bachelor herds usually only last for a couple of days at the most, so very rare thing to find, super rare. We had a other smaller male is just like, nah, you guys go figure that out. I'm gonna stay here and eat some food. Now, usually male elephants live by themselves, pretty much completely their entire life. So when you find a group of female or group of elephants, more often than not, it is just females and their offspring. Really interesting to find this right. Well, it looks like there are some flamingos enjoying the water today. Usually when you think about flamingos, you picture a bird that's a lot more pink than this one. But there are 6 different types of flamingo. This one is the biggest and also happens to be the palest pink. Now, regardless of flamingo type, every single one of them does go through this cool color transformation. When they first hatch, they are gray. They are super duper fluffy. They're white for around a year and a half, and then they start to eat things like shrimp and algae. That's what turns them pink. It really does come from their diet. It's so cool. He's squawking.
James, meet over the boat.
Hey, we're gonna move a little farther east and sunrise surf now.
20% view.
See, I don't see anything right off the bat, but I do see a giant mud wallow on the left, which is a pretty good sign. There's a lot of animals like rhinoceros, elephants. They have this thick gray skin, but they can very easily get sunburned or insect bites, so they will roll around in that mud to protect themselves. Oh, it's probably that rhino on the right. Oh yeah, he's looking pretty orange. Yeah. This rhino is called a southern white rhino. It is a lot bigger and a lot more social than the black rhino that we saw in the forest. This particular rhino is rather rambunctious. I can tell exactly which rhino he is because of his horn. It kind of looks like a crab claw. But all rhinos do have different horns. They'll get them wet, they kind of manicure them. They just rub them down on rocks and trees to shape them however they would like. He is following us. It looks like he might be heading over to the mud wallow. But an animal like that is one of few that we will find this far east in the reserve. We're approaching predator territory, but rhinos are so big they don't have any natural predators. You'll see there are a couple of waterbuck on the right side. They're kind of back there in the bushes. Now their name is waterbuck because they spend a lot of time in water, and they have this really oily coat to keep them dry. That also means they're actually kind of stinky. They don't taste very good, so usually predators don't like to go after any waterbuck. Okay, there are actually cheetahs on our left. There are 2 cheetahs laying in the middle of that little grassy bowl in the clearing, and there is a 3rd cheetah farther up ahead here, right back between the trees, and it's actually looking at us right now.
It's hard to see too.
He's like sleeping like
That's the fastest
Yeah, it's just kind of sleeping right now. As you can imagine, it takes a lot of energy to sprint at 70 miles an hour. Here that rhino comes. Look at him, he's so cool.
I know.
Yeah, look at how big he is compared to that cheetah. That's not gonna happen anytime soon. And watch his ears. Yeah, they got a really good sense of hearing. Because they can't see hardly anything. But they can run really fast. That's probably why a group of rhinos is called a crash of rhinos. Can't see, but they sprint at 35 miles an hour. That's so cool. I love their little trots. They actually have the same gait as something like a horse. So all 4 of their feet come off the ground at the same time. And they're pretty swift, pretty smooth for a 5,000-pound animal. Oh, look at this. There is a lioness. Sleeping on the boulder rocks on the left. Oh, big male back there too.
It's a girl one.
Going, very good one. Not so much, is it?
That is very cute. If you remember the African wild dogs that we saw a bit earlier, I said they catch 85% of the prey that they chase. Lions only catch about 20. They don't eat very often, so to conserve their energy, lions sleep and rest like this for about 20 hours a day, every day. So that is why they aren't moving around very much. That plus they are nocturnal animals. They'll be most active right in the middle of the night. Look at that beautiful male. Oh my goodness, a couple fan favorites on our left. Look at these warthogs. Love the hairdo. Now this is yet another animal that will thrive near predators because the burrows that they dig, you can see a couple of them down in the bank. They'll back themselves into those burrows and leave their tusks out, so even when they're sleeping they stay safe. Well, that's pretty smart. I think it's a bit of an injustice that the word Pumbaa in Swahili means foolish. Pretty clever. There's some more rhinos. The biggest difference between a black and a white rhino is their mouth shape. Black rhinos have a pointy mouth to eat leaves, and white rhinos have a wide, boxy mouth to graze on grasses. So that's why they live in two different environments. They're well adapted to eating some different things. Now those white rhinos are really a great success story. They have had an increasing population size in the last 3 years, so now there's over 20,000 of those southern white rhinos in the world. It's super exciting that population has continued to grow, and that's due to a couple different things, very strict anti-poaching laws and habitat protection as well. Now, habitat protection is something that we can help out with our home no matter where we live, and I'll tell you a little bit more about can help out in just a second, but I do want to point out this really cool animal on our right. It's called a scimitar horned oryx. It's actually one of my favorite species on the reserve. Look at its horns, so pretty. It's a lot lighter color than most of the animals we've seen so far today, and that's because they live in the desert. Lighter coats will reflect heat instead of absorbing it. So he can hold his heat pretty well. His body will heat up to 115 degrees Fahrenheit before they even start to sweat. And since they can retain that moisture, they can survive for 9 months without drinking any water. Which is crazy. 9 months, no water at all. Amazing. And an animal we are so fortunate to see around today. They were poached to extinction in the wild in 1979. Because we've worked so hard to increase their population on reserves like this one, we were able to reintroduce a species of about 90 scimitar horned oryx to the wild in 2016, which was really, really cool. I mean, we have literally brought that animal back from the brink of extinction, and that gives us so much hope going forward into the future, making sure no other animals are going to have to face that similar fate. And we may not live very close to the animals that we have seen today, but we are far more connected than you may think. A lot of resources we use every day are being harvested in the environment they need to survive. Every time that you choose to recycle, try to reduce your waste that you can. I think that you know our sustainable source. We're actually protecting the wild places that these animals call home. And together we can make sure there will be around for the next generations to see and enjoy. We're just now back to the Warden's Post. If you're looking to see some more African wildlife, be sure to visit the Gorilla Falls Exploration Trail at the top of the hillside when I drop you off. Well, it has been a pleasure being your guide, folks. If you have any questions for me, feel free to come right on up here to my window. But if not, Wahadini, go well, go wild. Enjoy the rest of your visit to Harambe or wherever your adventures may take you.